Hey guys, it's Jason Webb. This is the show that highlights local business leaders and the movers and shakers of Minnesota. Welcome to Minnesota Made.
All right, guys, I'm sitting here with Michael Todaro with a company by the name of Corkboard. This is going to be a little bit of a different episode. Michael, you're the first technology type company we've ever interviewed. So I'm excited to find out more about it. I'm pretty naive. I mean, navigating through my cell phone and trying to do different things on my iPhone, that's challenging enough for me.
Right. Well, listen, we're low threshold technology people, especially compared to this new generation of kids.
Yeah.
I have a 16-year-old daughter, and I'm like, I have no idea what she's doing at any moment with technology. I mean, not in a bad way, but it's like, they don't even, the stuff that we thought was cool 5, 7, 10 years ago, the Facebooks of the world, they're so far beyond that now.
Really?
Yeah. And I have my daughter's principal at Garlow Elementary said to me when she was a little kid, she said, you know, these kids are training for jobs that haven't even been invented yet. And that's so true.
That's crazy to think about.
Yeah. And
that's
I don't.
Matrix stuff.
Yeah, that's very, it's very inside the Matrix stuff, yeah. No, I don't. I'm not a programmer. I'm not a developer. I enjoy technology, and I enjoy using technology to tell the stories of businesses, of brands, of communities, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I started out many years ago as a performer, and did.
What kind of performing?
I was in a Broadway national tour of a show called The Full Monty. Many, 20 years ago.
Now, doesn't Full Monty mean naked?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And we did go the Full Monty, so I appeared naked in front of several million people. And the viewers out here have to be looking and going, that guy? That's not good. I was a sight gag, so don't worry. It wasn't about being appealing. I was the funny one, you know.
Yeah.
So I made a move to producing live entertainment and theater.
Okay.
We produced a show here in 2009, I think, and then moved it to New York off Broadway.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
And then made a lateral move to starting to produce technology events, utilizing technology to tell stories for brands. We did a lot of work with Verizon at the Super Bowl. We did projects with AT&T at the Final Four, things like that were back then really meant to collect email addresses, engage people, and then the market, you know, the vertical sort of morphed into wanting to create cool experiences that would get viral views and organic sort of viral traffic.
Isn't that still a hot thing nowadays?
Yeah, it's very hot. It's it's obviously it's been a challenging year. Those things are predicated on the concept of engaging crowds and communal engagement.
Right.
And if crowds can't be together, then they can't be engaged. So
sure.
It certainly is. It's all about the coolest thing. It's all about the flashiest, most technologically sound kind of coolest thing, and viral videos and all that sort of stuff. But
you were an employee within that company, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was an employee with a company called Brightline that a friend of mine started on the East Coast years and years ago.
Okay.
And I worked with him. Then I had my own company doing a couple different contracts with a company that was working with Marvel Comics and putting up their interactive exhibitions. So a lot of that interactive technology is expensive stuff.
Right.
And so all of these experiences, we would get to the end of a project and we'd pack it up and it would go into a warehouse in North Carolina and never be seen again.
Sure.
And I really wanted to find a way to leverage this technology and almost democratize it in a way that would serve, whether it be undervalued communities, whoever it was. And that's how Corkboard was born, and the company that I have currently. And we're utilizing and building a technology platform, utilizing sort of different blocks and different modules for engaging and interacting with different clients.
Okay.
And the space that we're working in now is in the blue collar workforce space, in the logistics and supply chain space. We're passionate about serving that community of people. There's so many different studies you can point to now that are really foretelling a blue collar labor shortage coming up. Boomers are exiting the workforce. Gen Z and Gen Y are coming into the workforce, and employers are going to need to find a way at that level to communicate with, engage employees that are younger and more sophisticated. So we're building out a technology platform that directly services that supply chain and logistics space.
Interesting. Now you use the word passion and blue collar. So does this passion for the blue collar industry just come from the base of you see an opportunity and you want to, capitalize on it, or is it go back further? This blue collar type industry, you mentioned that your dad was a police officer, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Blue collar type job.
Yes,
and,
very much so.
I don't know if you've had any type of blue collar jobs. I mean, does some of that passion come from life experience growing up, do you think, for that blue collar industry?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that there is, as this country has moved towards more technology, as we're talking about now,
Right.
we've sort of lost the ability and the passion for, in a lot of spaces, not everybody. I have great friends that are custom woodcrafter. I have a friend, Brady, who's down in southern Minnesota, who's got an amazing custom woodcrafting business. But the majority of people don't work with their hands and don't get into the dirt a little
Right.
bit, and I think that there's something that's kind of visceral about that. There's something that's connected about that.
Sure.
One of the things that I think about it, and one of the reasons I'm passionate about the area, is because I think the gap between the white collar workforce and the blue collar workforce, for lack of a better terminology, because I don't want to offend anybody by saying that.
Yeah.
But that gap is so large now.
Sure.
There's such a large gap between the consumers and the producers.
Right.
It's like, do you remember when we were kids? I'm assuming we're the same age, although years have been kinder to you. You used to get like a pack of t-shirts from Hanes, and there was a little tag in there that said like inspected by number 42.
Yep.
And that was like, even though you're not ever going to see the guy in the face, that was still a connection to the producer of your product.
Oh, sure.
As odd as that is, we've lost that. Everything now is like Amazon Prime, overnight order. Don't really think about the ramifications that it has all the way down the supply chain. Right? And I'm not saying that we all need to lie awake guilty at night because we ordered AirPods and so, that's not what I'm saying. But I think at least you have to have an understanding of that.
Yeah.
And I think that, and not to get too ideological about it, but I think that gap between producer and consumer is a lot of where the issues lie in this country right now. Yes. Whether you want to call it elites or whatever it is, right?
Yes.
There's this gap between those who make or supply things and those who consume them.
Right.
And I know that you're probably a little bigger conversation than you guys want to have right now, but that's where the passion is, to be able to engage those folks. And again, I don't think it's going to be, and I was talking to my dad about it. He was like, so you're, like, people are going to email the people that fulfill their Amazon orders? I said, no, it's not that. It's just having an understanding and a little bit of context, for that relationship.
Yeah.
And that's what's passionate about it. And why I started the company too is that corkboard, we're like, I like to say that we're sort of the third generation of a corkboard because it's community, it's the original geo-targeted advertisement, the original sort of community-based advertisement. And it started with like nailing a sign to a tree. And then it evolved to like the corkboard, you'd pin stuff up on babysitting or snow removal, and then we're sort of the next iteration of that.
Okay. So
it's the concept is sort of immediate communication that directly involves and affects the people around you. And we're in this supply chain space where we're trying to get top down and bottom up communication. We want the owners to be able to communicate with the sort of lowest tier of worker, and we want that person to also have access to communicate what they're feeling or what they're experiencing with the upper echelon. Okay. And again, it's not anything that's like everybody's message goes up, like then you've got CEOs that are just all day reading messages from people that work on their manufacturing line or things like that.
Oh, sure.
That's not it, but at least if studies say that workers are much more likely to stay with a company for longer if they feel connected all the way up and all the way down.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. Yeah. And at its base level, I realized this is recently, whether it was live performance, theater, whatever it was, technology, whatever it is, I love the concept of discovering things, right? Whether it's watching a great show and discovering something about somebody or whatever that means, or doing an interactive piece and you discover something. Because I think that I'm still chasing back when, remember we had payphones?
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And you would stick your finger in the slot and sometimes someone had left a quarter there or change had been returned. That feeling of discovery was like the greatest thing in the world. Or you reached into the soda machine and there was still like a dime in there.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And I still, like in all my years, have never, like that was such an indelible moment of discovery. I was like, I am rich and I didn't do anything for this, you know?
Right.
And I discovered it. It's like you feel like you're a treasure hunter, you know? So
yeah, it's a big deal back then.
it was a huge deal back then. Yeah. And now explaining it to kids these days, they're like, what's a payphone? What?
Yeah, right.
You guys used to have to pay for a phone?
Yeah. And
Savages.
my boys are 7 and 8.
Yeah.
A quarter does not motivate them in the least.
No. No, try to pitch them on the moment of discovery. Well, it's really sad too. Oh, it's not sad. It's different. Because my daughter, like these kids don't have any sense of anticipation. You know, there's no like on holidays like Christmas.
Yeah.
We used to like sit up in our rooms until our dad came and was like, okay, we can go downstairs. Like we'd be up at 6, not downstairs till like 7:30.
Yeah.
And you'd just be like, oh, trying to glimpse around the thing to see if you could, you know. There's no real sense of anticipation. They don't understand that because they don't have to anticipate anything.
It's all instant. Huh?
Yeah, it's all instant. It's all, and I used to get upset about it, but the world is the way that it is, you know? There's no sense in, I think, getting frustrated about something because it's different.
Sure.
You know, just because it's not the way I used to do it doesn't mean it's wrong.
Right.
You know, there's so many wonderful things that technology and this sort of instantaneous kind of society, this ready to order society, has given us that I think the positives far outweigh the negatives.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But it's sort of like you just sort of want to
bring some of it back.
Bring some of it back. Yeah,
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You have to like explain. Back in my day, we used to sit and anticipate things, you know, which is such a dumb thing to say. And your kids are like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
So when you were talking about, I think you said your daughter training for a job that's not created yet, and the technology that kids use today. Yeah, my son, man, he does what is it, Minecraft and Roblox all the time.
Yeah.
It's like designing theme parks, and this is like straight up CAD drawings or something here. I have no idea what he's doing.
Yeah.
It's amazing to think about where all this is leading. You know, what their generation's going to be like, and what they're going to be doing.
It is.
You know, Elon's talking about putting pucks in our head that we
I know.
can communicate back and forth.
I know.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is. It is crazy, and it's and I always ask my dad. I'm like, what is the sort of biggest technology leap the world took? Like, what generation was it? My grandfather's generation that went from like horse and carriage to like cars, or I guess it'd be my great grandfather. But like, what was the biggest leap? And I don't know if was the biggest leap in technology, the biggest leap a generation's ever taken, like the leap between the Commodore 64 and the Xbox 5, you know? I mean, just the technology. The technology from back when we would play Nintendo Tecmo Bowl to like PlayStation is like, it's crazy.
Right.
It's insane.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We're talking about, we're only 50 years away from man walking on the moon. And now we're talking about like commercial space flight. I mean, that's huge. That's such a monstrous change in everything. Yeah.
Right.
So I don't.
Commercial space flight. So you go to the airport, book your flight to the moon.
I would assume that you can't like last minute that. That's not like that's not like a like a sweeper off her feet vacation where you're like,
Okay.
let's go to Paris.
Yeah,
no,
right,
let's
yeah.
go to the moon.
Yeah.
Maybe someday we say that,
Yeah.
you know, why not?
My
Why
son
not?
wants to be an astronaut, so
Well, there you
I'm
go.
seeing the opportunity.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
rather this flying airplane,
Yeah.
bringing people to and from Hawaii, bring them to the moon, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, Jeff Bezos is going up with, he got his brother, he's taking his brother up in the first, like, sort of commercial space flight, which
Really?
basically I think they go up into the, like, I don't know what the specifics are, but they're like, it's like 11 minutes of weightlessness, like just a flight into space and then to
okay.
come back, so it's not like a sightseeing trip. But he called his brother and was like, hey, you're going with me.
Crazy.
Come on. What is anybody else supposed to get that guy from the family for like birthdays or Christmas?
Yeah.
The guy gave him a trip to space.
Yeah,
So
right.
thanks for setting the bar that high. Jeez.
Wasn't the guy from Virgin Records, the Playboy kind of guy?
Oh yeah,
who was
Richard
on?
Branson.
Didn't he have some kind of weightless flight thing? I know one of the Backstreet Boys did it or something.
I think they use it, or they used something like that, or I think they used his thing in like Gravity or one of those movies that had like virtual. I don't remember specifically what it was, but yeah, I think he's another one that I think they're doing commercial space flight, or they're aiming to do commercial space flight.
Wow.
So yeah.
So, how long you been with Corkboard now?
I found it in March of 2019.
2019.
Yeah.
So it's a couple years, a little over 2 years. What's that journey been like, man? I used to be a chiropractor.
Yeah.
Right? And started 3 different clinics and sold them and got into real estate and then got into insurance, and that journey isn't always smooth. You know what I mean? I don't know what it's been like for you.
No.
But I took some lumps along the way.
Yeah, I would never, no. I think that the days of like our parents' generation of like being with one thing for like 20 or 30 years,
Right.
your goal, like that's so done.
Yeah.
Like that's so done.
Yeah.
I have, part of the everybody's like, you're such an entrepreneur, and I am. I like doing my own thing. Not just because I like running it and doing it my way. I have partners, I listen to people. I realize though, I'm a terrible employee.
Yeah.
I'm a terrible, terrible employee.
What part of it makes you terrible? You got a better way?
Always, for sure. No, and that's just in my mind. That's not reality
Me
at
too,
all.
man.
Yeah.
I've been self-employed since 2001, and
Yeah.
that's a big reason why.
And if there's a leadership vacuum, if I sense and it's like instinctual, it's I don't know why, but if there's a leadership vacuum, I will fill it, and that never ceases to piss people off. Because I don't like people that are not decisive.
Yeah.
I don't, and even if you're gonna make the wrong move, just make a move.
Right.
And I find that, and it's part of, I run my company, and I always have, using the lean methodology. I'm like, get it up, let's get it looked at, let's iterate it, let's fold it, let's do it again. Because too many people in this startup ecosystem
Yeah.
wait and wait and wait and wait.
So it's perfect.
Till it's perfect, as opposed to getting it up, getting eyes on it, talking about it, and that, I think, that is safe. The waiting is safe, because then you don't have to put something out that someone might point at and be like, oh, that's not right.
Right. Deal with rejection or failure.
Yes, and part of what I have a shirt, and I actually I have a friend who's in Atlanta who's a software developer that's got a great product. And he was wearing a shirt one day that was like a lean startup shirt that said invalidate my assumptions. And I got one. I was like, that's exactly what it is. I want to spend all of my time with everybody around me invalidating my assumptions. Not telling me why I'm wrong, not telling me I am wrong, but going like this, that's not how this industry works, or that's not going to speak to these people.
Yeah.
You have to be open to that.
Yeah.
And not just in like some bullshit, some sort of phony buzzword way.
It's okay to say shit, man.
Okay, good. Thank God. I was gonna shit worrying about that. Am I right? But there's so many buzzwords, and the startup world in general to me is a lot of make work. It's a lot of people creating things to, make money off of it. It's become a lot of like that. A lot of, and I'm not saying there aren't some great people. Kate DeLeo is a brilliant branding coach. There are some brilliant people out there in the world. Beta MN that I was just a part of is a wonderful program. There are some great things out there in the world, but it's also very predatory. And there are people that are looking to take advantage of you. I get at least 12 emails a day. Do you need funding? Do you need funding? Mm-hmm. And I used to be like, oh my God, this is going to be such an easy business to run because everybody wants to give me money.
Right.
But so it's just, it's very difficult. And so my focus has always been, whether I'm doing project work or when I was doing theater work, my focus is on execution.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. Like, I've had bumps along the way, to get back to that original topic. I've had a lot of bumps along the way too, when I've ignored the voice inside my head that's going, don't do this, don't do this. Especially when I had to deal with clients that I knew didn't know what they were talking about, or were looking for something unrealistic, but I really needed the money.
Oh.
I needed the money I needed the revenue.
You wanted that sale.
So yeah. So I would shut that voice in my head down, and I'd be like, no, I can make this work. I have never once in 20 plus years thought to myself, I can totally make this work in a situation like that, and it has worked.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Amazing.
Because I think to myself, in the back of your mind, this is going to end up like in ashes at my feet. Because I'm either going to just flip out and go like scorched earth on it, or it's just going to be destroyed.
Yeah.
And I never stand there amidst the rubble of a project going like this, man, I am totally shocked that happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's where a lot of those bumps have come from. Yeah. And you know that. Yeah. I mean, you've done... it's sort of like you feel like you're the cliche when you're like, oh, the things I've done for money. But that's what you kind of feel like after that. And then you just kind of, everybody's like, well, you're so resilient. You just get back up and keep going. I get back up and keep going because I don't have a choice.
Right.
But also, I am most of the time solely responsible for the reason I got knocked on my ass.
Right.
So, there have been things that have blindsided me. But most of the time, you spend it's always the last 2 weeks when you're like, I can make this work. And then you become a crazy person, and then you're up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and you're like, I can totally make this work.
Yeah.
And then you start to feel sick because it's about to not work, but you're going to stretch it out for a couple more days, so maybe you can, forget it.
Short-term gain, long-term loss.
Yes.
That makes me think of that. I don't remember who told me that, but I think about it often.
Yeah, absolutely. Long-term pain.
Yeah.
And you got to be foresight. You got to be. You can't be short-sighted. I think. And there, the one thing I have learned as I've gotten older is patience.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been an incredible journey of patience because before the pandemic, our business model had us going into restaurants and building a platform, an engagement and communication platform in restaurants, and then monetizing the surface. In an advertising model. That's solely driven by communal gathering and people gathering and looking at your screen. Well, if restaurants close down, so we had to pivot.
Oh, it would have been open to the guests?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had an app and you could put stuff, but we had to make a pivot because that business model wasn't going to work. And this industrial supply chain space was something I've always felt passionate about. And then it started getting some traction with a couple of other, couple advisors, and we put together an advisory board. So it's picking up traction, and it really is, it is the first time in this space with Corkboard. When we originally launched, there was a lot of convincing people that we had value. This space is in such a desperate need and situation that people are like, yes, this makes sense. This makes sense. Yes, this is needed. You don't have to squint your eyes to see the value or see the need for the board and building out the platform, which is great. And again, you're right. There's obviously a fiduciary thing. We're not a charity. We want to make some money, but I think there is something, and I never know whether you're trying to justify things ideologically to yourself to make yourself feel better about what's going on, But I do feel like there's importance in kind of bridging this communication gap between the sort of white collar space and the blue collar space.
So do you work with contractors, manufacturers, both? What type of industries are you?
Right now, we've been talking to a couple different people. I probably shouldn't say names. We're talking to some smaller Minnesota companies. So I moved here in '98, and then I got the tour and toured the world for 2 years, and then came back here and made a conscious decision to come back here because I grew up on the East Coast, and on the East Coast, you're always 90 miles away from the next traffic jam. That's it. It was just like every city runs together by suburbs, so it's huge. Here it was like you're 90 miles away from complete solitude, which I like too. Because my dream is like to live with my wife can come or not, whatever. But live like in a place that people can only visit by seaplane or something like that. So you always know when somebody's coming.
Sure.
Solitude is my, God, I love it. But anyway, but I made a conscious decision to come back here for several reasons. And one of the things I've really liked in the entrepreneurial journey is finding these amazing companies that like go around the corner and there's a company that does this, or a company, I'm sure that's the same in every community.
Yeah.
But like there's a company up in Belle Plaine that makes like one tiny piece of an artificial joint for a prosthetic knee, and they've got 3 huge facilities around the world.
Jeez.
You know, so we're looking. I'm looking for one partner right now to work with that's got a couple different facilities in the supply chain logistics space. I'd rather do one solid partner that we can build a platform with. We work on a royalty arrangement, so when we grab a partner, and we've done it with a couple other industries we've worked in, we give that partner that started us out like a piece of each board that's sold for the next 3 years because they helped us build the platform.
Okay.
So that's what we're looking for, is that partner, the perfect partner. We've had a couple conversations and offers, but it hasn't been right yet.
Okay.
So that's where the patience kind of plays in, because I don't want to, I'm listening to that little voice in the back of my head that's going, don't do this, don't do this, this is going to end poorly.
So what is it? Can you give me an example if I'm the owner of the company that makes a little piece that goes on a prosthetic, and I'm interested in having you come in and help us out with your services? What does that look like for me, being the CEO?
Sure. So I think that, and that's one of the things that we deal with on a daily basis, is we've got to appeal to the CEOs, the guys writing the checks, but we really are building a platform for the people that are, that are doing the grunt work. What it looks like is we sit down with our offerings. We've got 10 different modules. They're communication modules. There's like a top-down communication, which is like a note from the CEO, that sort of thing. These are all updatable, interactive modules.
So if I'm a factory worker running a press, is it on my cell phone? Is it an app?
It is right now we are digital services, so it's a screen in the warehouse.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's a digital screen, much like that's one of our screens right there.
It's TV screen on the wall.
Yeah. So in our platform's running, that's just a simple platform right there. But so it's that. So it's a screen on the wall that's then engaging. We different placement options. We've had a couple. Excuse me. Sorry. We've had a couple folks that we've talked to that have wanted to have like a screen right by the door as people are exiting, so that they can message employees as they're leaving for the day, one by the time clock, those sort of things. It's really sitting down and customizing the platform to each individual company.
Okay.
So some companies will want a direct OSHA feed or something like that directly feeds from their union onto the screen. Some might want a scheduling mod that we have. Some might want a top-down employee module. We've got another text-to-screen module for employees to communicate between shifts with each other.
So we were just talking about communicating from the top down versus the bottom up, and I see the communicating from the bottom up to be more challenging, and you're talking about different possibilities either through text or touch screens or QR codes and so on, and that's all in the works right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got touch capabilities, we've got text to screen, we've got QR codes, we have all of those, and I think it really is about integrating with the existing stuff as well.
Okay.
There are several people that we've talked to that have said, we've got several disparate systems in the warehouse that are like goals and are like this, that, and so if we can find one sort of platform to encompass all of those. So we have plugins that we have available where people can put scheduling things in, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Cool. All right. So if somebody is interested in Corkboard or some of your learning management systems, is that what they're called? Yeah. And communicating with their employees in a more efficient manner and allowing communication to go both ways, what would be the best way to find out more information or get a hold of you?
So my email address, mtodaro, M-T-O-D-A-R-O, at corkboard, corqueboard.com,
right.
or corkboard.com. Yeah, so all of those are the easiest ways to communicate with me. Yeah,
Great.
for sure.
Well, I appreciate your time, Michael.
I appreciate your time. I always like to have a conversation, so for sure, and you were a great conversation, so I appreciate it.
Good.
For sure.
And that's it, guys. Get a hold of Michael if you have some questions about Corkboard and how it works, and he's an interesting dude.
I am fascinating.
All right, thanks, Michael.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yep.